Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Rabi Mahmood and welcome back to lecture number 26 for the course The History of English Language. Today in our lecture we are going to start with the modern English period. Although since a few of our lectures, while we go back to our lectures, we see that we have been studying modern English period, and we initially actually have divided it into two main phases. The first one was early modern English period and the other was late modern English period. Those were the two main divisions of this thing. Those were the two main components of modern English period. But right now we are going to look at overall development, at the overall things that were done in that specific era regarding the perspective of English language. We are going to look at the overall development, at the overall contributions. We are going to look at the overall shape that English language has taken in that era. Modern English period, it is actually that the period that I am going to talk about today is it is ranged between 1800 to 2005. You see that English in 1720, it was present in these two main regions of the world. The first region, as you can see, is there is the England, is Dublin, the Scotland, France, but the main area is that of England. It is actually was very much present there. It was developing. It was in the developing stage, and it was in the stage of recognition. So and when you look at the other map, you see that English was spoken in Jamestown, in the rest of the Europe, a little bit over the rest of the Europe as well. It is not only found in England, but also the influence of English was very much visible all over the Europe. Yes. Then when we come in, look at the year 763 and we come towards British colonies, we see this is the same concept that I have been elaborating for so many times in my lecture. I have told you that colonies word is really very, very important, in the sense that this colonies word refers to those colonies where Britain was ruling in those areas, where Britain was ruling, was in reign, where the Britishers were in power, and they had made some lands their own colonies. In it's the time of 1763, and the main colonies that we can see, this is actually the world map. You can see the Australia, Asia, Europe, and then Canada is there, North America and the South America, the main powers of there. This is the first British Empire. The empire was the result of the commercial enterprise and Britain's military success. Yes, this empire, this British Empire, this was the result of the commercial enterprise. Commercial enterprise are the economical, are the financial exchanges that were being done between the two states, and Britain's military success, and the success that Britain had gained over the rest of the countries. So this concept of British colonies in 1763, we can see that Britain was expanding. It was having its colonies all over the world. So definitely when the colonies were expanding, so in the same way the English language was expanding because of its diffusion, because of its integration, because of its interaction with the rest of the cultures. Then there is the Declaration of Independence in 1776, as you can see in the picture. Then British colonies in 1815. You are saying that now the British colonies have changed in 1815 as compared to those that were found in 1763. Yes, as you see that the one that you are looking in the blue color, this is a territory deemed by Britain, this is but not settled, although this was a territory where Britain was actually already having its impact, where Britain was already having its power there, but it had not completely settled over there. The one that is shown in the red color, you can see this is British territory held before 1793. The one that are found in the red color, as you can see here, this one, these chunks, this part, a little part of Africa, and then a little part of China and Canada, all these were different parts, and the British territories were held before 1793. Then the one that you found in black color, this is a territory permanently acquired by the Britain during war 1793 to 1814. The one in black color, this is very small. You can see that there are the small chunks of this Britain that is found in the black color. This is a territory that is permanently acquired by the Britain during wars. Then the one that you see in the yellow color, the territory temporarily occupied with the Britain during wars. The one that is in yellow color, this is very again small, and this was the same territory that was occupied by Britain in 1793 to 1814. Yes, then when we look at British Empire from 1918 to 1939, you see before this the empire is very little, but with this after when a little time has already passed, British Empire has started expanding. It is started from 1918 to 1939. Yes, then you see that the British empires were expanding, and then there are hundreds of the languages that are spoken in languages of India. Actually, earlier it was a concept that India and Pakistan both are the same country, because they were the descendants of the subcontinent part of Asian region. So look at the languages that are given, although the whole of the map is titled as the languages of India, but still it has got Pakistan as well. Within Pakistan you can see that there is Urdu language, there is Balochi language, there is Saraiki, Punjabi in the western part of the country, whereas when we come to India, we have got a range of areas, we have got a range of regions, and we can identify that there are so many of the languages that are spoken in that part. For example, Marathi, Telugu, Kannada, Tamil language, then there is Rajasthani, there is Hindi that is spoken. Hindi is spoken over a large part of the country. Then then there is Bengali language, there is Bihari language, there is Rajasthani, Gujarati. These are hundreds of the languages that are spoken. While we come to Sri Lanka, that is outside India, that we are noticing there is a language, Sinhalese language is there. Then we come to Maldives. Within Maldives there are different languages. So these were the languages that were spoken in that time in the region of Asia, or in the subcontinent region. Then while we compare the English speaking countries, see how the English speaking countries were expanding. Look at the British Empire in 1918 to 1939, and look at the English speaking countries in 2000. Yes, on the first hand, from 1918, these countries are marked by red, a very little part of the world, whereas you see how it is expanding. This is such a large part, then this part, and then these parts of the world, they are found they were traced in 2000. English in the Europe. You can see that there is in Europe, it was really expanding. It was spoken, although England itself was a little part, but still it was spoken and it was understood over the region Europe, over the European region for a long period of time. Then in the English in the North America. In the North of America, as we can see that there is Canada, there is USA, San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago. These are these countries, and these all are English speaking countries. English in the Caribbean is also, see it in the Caribbean Sea, there are so many countries that is still speaking English. Then when we come to the African continent, we see there are again many countries that are speaking English. Then in the English in the Asia Pacific, in the Asian Pacific countries, there are again many instances that are found that would show that the English is spoken largely over Asia and the Pacific countries. So what does all this map show? All these maps show that English is a world language basically. Yes, this is the first concept, the first modern concept that we got to understand these days, that English is a world language. English is the language of all international affairs, politics, economy, culture, science, air traffic and sport. It is the language of all international affairs. Internationally, if there are some affairs that are to be discussed, including politics, including economy, including culture, science, air traffic, anything, any sports, all these are a matter of all these are regarded as English as a world language. You will see all these affairs are dealt only in English. Globalization. This thing perhaps leads us towards a new concept, that is the concept of globalization. Means English has expanded so much that it has come to the extent of globalization. It has become global. Globally it is accepted, it is understood, it is spoken, it is written, it is listened, it is read all over the globe. Globalization, within globalization you see that there are the four main factors that have contributed towards globalization. The first factor is political dominance of the US. You would notice that there has been a political dominance of the US. US has been regarded as perhaps the most strongest and the powerful and developed countries of the world. If this is the developed and the most developed country of the world, and it is, you know, it is definitely it is having a dominance. It is controlling the rest of the world powers. It is a kind of, and it is a kind of power all over the rest of the nations. So political dominance of the US, and you know that the language of US or the United States is English language. So a political dominance has been noticed in because of the power of United States all over the world. This power has resulted in the acceptance of English language as the globalized language. Then there is worldwide trading relationships. Worldwide trading relationships, definitely, while we talk of US, while we talk of America, when we talk of Canada, when we talk of Britain and Australia, the core native countries of English language, we see that there is a worldwide trade that is going on in these countries with the rest of the world. Definitely they are expanding, they are trading, they are interacting with the people, and you know that this trade, This trait is a result of which thing? This trait is a result of the interaction, and this trait is we can say it is really very helpful. It's a source for the expansion of English language, and for the acceptance of English language as a globalized language of the world, as a global language of this globe. This trait, the political dominance of America, these two factors have really very strongly contributed towards the acceptance of English as a globalized language. There is increasing mobility. While there is an interaction that is going on between the two nations, while the people are interacting with each other, so there is definitely an increase in the mobility. There is an increase in the movement of the people from one nation to the other. The people are expanding, the people are migrating. So this increased mobility again is another thing that is adding to the acceptance of English as a globalized language. Then the internet. Internet again is another big source, I would say, for the addition of English as acceptance of global language. Why? Because of this, you would see that English has expanded such a lot. All the material, everything that we found is there in English. Later in my lecture, I'll be telling you that what is the percentage of English that is being used on internet, and then you would be really surprised to know that what a great proportion is given to the use of English language at internet. Now, while we are talking about the English period, let's talk a little about the future of English as well. Will the world end up with only one language? Yes. If we are saying that English is really expanding, English is becoming the language of the people, so what is actually the thing? Will the world end up with only one language? Or what? I mean, when there would be end of the world, will there be only one language, and that language would be English? Is it possible? If there is so much expansion that is going on even yet, will English become the native language of the world? Yes, this is the second biggest question. This is the second biggest question about the future of English. What can we say? Can we say that will English become the native language of the world? Will it be regarded as the native language of the world? If people are acquiring it so efficiently, and people are really getting inspired, and the language is getting globalized, it is becoming globalized. So is there a chance that the English will become the native language of the world at one particular period of time? Let's see. The growth of vocabulary. English has acquired many new words from the new scientific and the technological concept. Yes, so this is really very true, that English has acquired many vocabulary. It has got one of the richest bank of vocabulary. The bulk of the new vocabulary is only known to the specialist, but some words have become the part of everyday language, so it is quite true. As we can see, if we look at just one arena, one sphere of life, that is, let's say, transportation, let's see that what a great range of vocabulary have we got regarding this transportation. For example, there are the words like automobiles, car, train, truck, plane, railroad, airport, traffic light, windshield, freeway, clutch, gear shift, to park, to tune up. These are only a few. You would find hundreds and hundreds of words that are related to one specific semantic category. Semantic category means the category of the things according to the meanings, the category of the words according to their meanings. Electronic media. In electronic media, you can find the words like cinema, like movie, film, broadcast, television, cable TV, telephone, cell phone, videotape, VCR, DVD, stereo, radio, soap operas, antenna, microphone. Again, a few of the items that are related to this one specific field, and that field is electronic media. Computer, PC, software, hardware, mouse, cursor, download to surf the internet, virus, spam mail, CD-ROM, firewall, hacker, email, internet, byte, RAM, modern, PC. All these are the words that are in one way or the other referring to the main object, that is computer. Yes, what you would be really amazed to see that yesterday when in our previous lectures while we were discussing about the varieties of English language, okay, you remember, I hope, that the varieties of English language, in that specific course, in that specific lecture, I used one terminology, and that terminology was register. Register is a word that is as, and we have defined register, it's a language according to the use. Simply, registers are what? Registers are the language according to the use. Means you would definitely be having a specific kind of vocabulary, a specific kind of language to use in a specific kind of situations. Okay, registers are regarded as the vocabulary that is used in a specific situations. Actually, the words that we are discussing, the range of vocabulary that we are discussing right now regarding transportation, regarding computer, regarding different things, we can say that these are different registers. That's why actually I remember this concept right now, that we can easily say that these are what? That these are registers. This is a computer register. While we have all the vocabulary that is related to computer, we are using it. When we have all the vocabulary that is related to print media, and we are using that vocabulary for that. So that is known as computer, or that is the words that we are using, this terminology that is used in English language, it is known as register. Some more examples of the register are the register of medicine. For example, we can say the register of medicines means the vocabulary of medicines, and the vocabulary of medicines that has come up in the English language, it is AIDS, antibiotics, vaccine, clinic, injection, hormones, aspirin, insulin, immune system, schizophrenic, X-rays, DNA, EKG, carbohydrate, cholesterol, and proteins. These are different things that are related to medicine register. Food, some other things related to food: chili, enchilada, taco, nachos, junk food, french fries, potato chips, hamburger, goulash, tofu, muesli, pizza, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, gyros, and muffin. These are all in one way or the other, they are all the food items, and they are related to the food, and this is all these words that are used, we can say that these are food register. French. Then there are some French words that have been included in English as well. A few of the examples are chef, menu, beige, gourmet, restaurant, au pair, semantics, genre, garage, elite, coupon, and chauffeur. These are the loan words that have been added into English language. Yes, some Spanish words, as you can see: gringo, Mustang, ranch, bronco, nachos, enchilada, chili and taco. These are a few Spanish words. Some Italian words: lasagna, mafia, fiasco, inferno, salami, pasta. Pasta is an Italian word, good to know. Some Japanese words that have been added in English are tycoon, karako, kamikaze, karat. These are different words that have been taken from Japanese. Then some other words that have come from actually Yiddish language: to scalp, to squids, bagel and kosher. The words from German language: kindergarten, a very used word. As you know that if a baby goes to school first of all, and the baby enters into one class, gets admission into the first class, and what is that class? We say that the baby is studying in KG. KG actually is an abbreviation that has come from kindergarten, and kindergarten, the word, it has come from German language. It's a loan word. It's not the original word of our own English language. Then Angus, poodle, and then Strudel, Brazil. These are Gestalt. These are again German words that have added into English. Compounding, fire extinguisher. Okay, look that how different words are combined to make up a few new words. Airplane, streamline, lipstick, railroad, jet lag, junk food, lifestyle, roller braids. To outscore, the combination of two words. To skydive, space shuttle, airport, airplane, skyline and steamline. These are the examples of compounding. Before this, we have actually looked at the individual words that have come from some other languages, and before that, before looking at the borrowed words, we have also looked at which thing? At different characteristics as spellings of English itself that are found in English language. Now some affixations. Affixations are where a few of the words have affixed in the base of the word. For example, look at this word. Let me tell you that how. Postmodernism. Actually, the original word is modern. On one hand, we would found this is the suffix ism, and in the initial stage we will found this is prefix. This process, when this prefix and suffix are added into the main word, this is known as, this is actually the modern, this is known as root or the main word. When these modern is the root word, and you would found prefix and the suffix, so it would make postmodernism. And this process, the overall process of adding prefixes and suffixes into the root word, it is known as affixation. Yes, there is again another example of post-colonialism, post-graduate study, trans-oceanic, trans-continental, trans-Siberian, transliterate, prenatal, post-doc, then decode, defrost, preschool, pre-registration, deflate, prehistoric, debunk. Yes, these are all the words, all these words are an example of affixation process. Towards blends, where the two words have been blended in such a way that they have started giving some new meanings. For example, brunch, motel, channel, smog, snark, Frisco, Amtrak, trafficator, fantabulous, chortle. Nowadays I have noticed one thing, that this one word fantabulous is really very very popular among the youth. They would use it again and again, the word fantabulous. Some brand names. Look how the brand names have been adapted into the words. This sandwich is a brand name. Kodak, cola, camembert, sharpnel, boycott, limousine, Tabasco. Look how these brand names have come into our own language, and they mean something else. They are no more regarded as brand names sometimes, and they are used simply as words. Acronyms have also been added into our language. For example, radar, it makes radio. It is actually from radar. Look, R-A-D-A-R. When we get the first few letters, the initial letters of the word and make them a word, they are called acronyms. Radar is coming, radio detecting and ranging. Radar is an acronym of this thing. Then AIDS. AIDS is what? Acquired immune deficiency syndrome. Makes AIDS. OPEC. OPEC is Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. NATO, the word NATO we have been listening again and again for such a long time. And NATO is what? NATO is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Then there is metaphor. Some metaphors have also been added into the examples of English language, into the modern English language. For example, while we look at the vocabulary like hardware, mouse, memory, language, program, spyware, virus, garbage can, desktop, file, window, email, firewall, antivirus. Metaphors are actually those words I just thought perhaps you might be knowing or you might not be knowing. That's why I would like to explain it, that what metaphor is. Metaphor is a word of language that is used to refer to some other object. As in Urdu, you have, as the mother says, mera beta sher hai, that my son is a loin. Loin, the word loin is a metaphor here. Sher is a metaphor here. Metaphor because mother is associating the qualities of the loin with her son. She assumes as if her son is as brave as a loin. So instead of saying that my son is as brave as a loin, she would directly say that my son is a loin. So when she directly says that my son is a loin, it means that she is using metaphor. So these were a few of the examples of the metaphors that we have discussed. Then there were some phonological changes that have come in this specific era from 1800 to 2005. You would see there is the flapping of t in the American English. You would found the flapping sound. For example, in matter is the repeating sound. Writer, ladder. This d, when there is a double consonants of d, it will be pronounced as letter, t, rather than da, ladder. Then some spelling pronunciations also got changed in this era. For example, the spellings of forehead and clapboard. For example, the spellings of calm, psalm, palm, balm. Then chalk, fork. Some strong and the weak verbs combinations. While we look at this thing, we see that there were some strong and weak verb combinations that were made in this era. For example, if we see that one verb, that is abide. Abide is it was old English, it was as abode, and here it became abided. The word mau, it became mew, and then it mowed. Saw became sew, and then sawed. Strive became strove, and then strived. Swell became swole, and swelled. Thrive, throve, and thrived. These are the examples of some strong and weak verbs that have acquired a new shape in this era. Some relative pronouns. Now let's start with the relative pronouns and see that what were the original form of the relative pronouns and how they have changed in this time. Number one, which can no longer be used with the human antecedents, they were the relative pronouns. And then which and that mark the contrast between the restrictive and non-restrictive relatives. Which can no longer be used with the human antecedents. Whenever we are talking about the relative pronouns that relates actually the pronouns to the actual subject. For here it is said that the word which will never be used with the human antecedents. Which and that mark the contrast between restrictive and non-restrictive relatives. Okay, it would mark the contrast, it would mark the difference. Then in a subject relatives, the relative pronouns is obligatory. It is obligatory, it is compulsory, it is mandatory. Without it, the subject will not get complete. For example, look at example number 1. He talked to the man, bought our company. He talked to the man Jack met on the street. He talked to the man. Yes, what would you use over here? We are saying he talked to the man. Actually, the word is this man. What relative pronoun should be used here? He talked to the man that brought our company. That it is not which, that brought our company. So which is not being used with the human beings. He talked to the man Jack met, which he talked to the man. He is talking about the man Jack met, to whom Jack has already met. That on which on the street. The man Jack met which on the street. Okay, then prepositions and conjunctions. There were some additions of the prepositions and conjunctions as well in this. For example, granted and pending, in front of and on the basis of. In front of and on the basis of. The others can be the others that were introduced were assuming that, and given that, on grounds that, in view of the fact that. Look at the conjunctions that are used. That, these are given that, assuming that. Now some of the prepositions that are used: in front of, on the basis of, on the grounds, in view of the fact. These are different, the use of prepositions and the conjunctions. Them standard use and new common use. For example, there were actually while we are talking about this modern English period, and we are saying that the English has already been changed. So what is happening now? Actually, there was one standard variety, of English that was existing, and there was a standard, definitely the standard rules, the standard Jews of the thing, and there were some new common Jews as well. Standard Jews was that of for example, if there is one word that is convinced of, actually new common Jews is convinced about, you need to convince him about this thing, rather convince him of this thing. There is a variation between the everyday language and the standard English language. For example, if in the standard English the word married, if we are referring to someone that married to, whereas in the everyday common English language it will be used as married with. Then take charge of. Take charge of is a standard Jews, whereas in new common Jews it is take charge over. Then standard Jews is in search of, whereas in new common Jews is in search for. Passive progressive. Passive progressive, there were some progressive tense is a tense, that shows the continuity or the progress of the things, or the progress of the situation of the thing. While we talk about the passive progressives, the passives that were used in the progressive tense. My car is being broken. These are also introduced in this modern era. My house is being painted. These are the passive verbs. The problem is being discussed at today's meeting. My car is repairing. My house is painting. And the problem is discussing today's meeting. Yes, when all these three are the three sentences that are active voice, when they are turned into passive voices, they become, for example, my car becomes my car is being broken. We have used, and there is an addition of being, whereas broken, or it is actually converted into the word broken, and instead of ing they have used the word being, just because of it is passive progressive. Then my house is painting. My house is being painted. The use of being as well as the use of ed. This thing shows the third form of the verb as well as the being, that is actually the progressive. It shows progressive tense of the sentence. This problem is being discussed at today's meeting, and this is actually the active voice of this thing is this problem is discussing today's meeting. So there is a difference between the active voices and the passive voices, and these concepts were once again brought into discussion in this modern era that was ranged between 1800 to 2500. Sorry, 1800 to 2005. Get passive. For example, the walls were painted. In modern era, we most of the time call it the walls got painted. Rather than using the appropriate the tenses and the structure, we'll move on to using the words like the walls got painted. Gone a future. Yes, again an addition of some new thing in this modern English period. Firstly, this got is a new addition. Then this gonna to refer to the future condition of the things. It was introduced. For example, if there is a word, I am going to marry Bill, or for example, I am leaving in order to marry Bill. These are different actually words that are referring to future. I am going to marry Bill. I am going to marry Bill. Yes, instead of using the old tenses and the will and shall for the future tense, that was a very strict and rigid pattern of our traditional grammar. Nowadays it has already been changed, and there is a concept that instead of using these words like will and shall, it can easily be translated and it can easily be said in some other ways. One way, for example, there is a word, I am going to marry Bill. I am going to marry Bill. In perhaps in traditional grammar, when we used to say that I will, if there is a for example, if there is a sentence that I am writing, I will marry Bill. I will marry Bill. So instead of using the words like will, they are using I am going to marry Bill. I am leaving in order to marry Bill. I am leaving, I am already going, means we can use any kind of sentence construction to refer to the future tense instead of using the will and shall, and will and shall are most of the time now considered as outdated expressions. Some lexical expressions and grammatical markers that are there in the modern English period. Lexical patterns are, for example, nouns, verbs and adjectives. Lexical that are related to the individual lexical items, to the individual words. Lexical items are what? They are the words. The lexical items are nouns, because nouns are the names of something, so they are the simple words. Verbs are those words that refer to action. Adjectives are those words that would modify, or that would enhance, that would qualify the qualities of noun. Now grammatical, there are some grammatical markers or the grammatical expressions that are used. The first example is that of prepositions. Prepositions is a grammatical marker. It's a grammatical, grammatical usage is there of the preposition. For example, the book is on the table. On is a preposition. The book is on the table. The cat is sitting under the bed. Under the bed. Under is again a preposition. It is referring to the grammatical structure of the sentence. It's a grammatical marker. Then the next is conjunctions. Conjunctions are those points that join up the two sentences. For example, I will be leaving for Multan, but after finishing my work. But is a conjunction that has joined the two sentences, the first one and the second sentences. Then pronouns. Pronouns are those words that are used instead of nouns. They are known as pronouns. Okay. Pronouns, as you would say, Shazia is a good girl. She gets up early in the morning and goes to school. The word she is a pronoun and it has been used instead of Shazia. So we say that these are the modern vocabulary, modern grammatical items that have been added into English. Then comes some other grammatical items like auxiliaries. Auxiliaries are the helping words, helping verbs most of the time. They are the helping verbs. For example, in is, RM are auxiliaries. For example, if there is a sentence that I am watching the match, I am watching the match. I am and watching. Watching is a verb and am is an auxiliary verb that is helping the main verb to get it completed and to convey the complete meaning. I am watching the match. Then some bound morphemes are there that are stuck with each other. The bound morphemes that cannot get separated. Morphemes are, these are the smallest minimal unit of a word. The bound morphemes that are tied together with each other. Yes. Then let's come to the concept of grammaticalization. Grammaticalization is a very, very important concept in the study of modern English. While we are saying that there is grammaticalization, grammaticalizations mean everything in this era is seen from the perspective or from the framework of one thing that is known as grammar. The things, the sentences, everybody that utters some sentences, these sentences must be like easily they must be easily put down into one into one framework, into one structure, and the structure of the words that allows them to come together in not in a random way, but rather in an organized way. All this thing is known as grammaticalization. Yes, for example, go, while it refers to motion, so there is actually sometimes gonna, we can also say. Will, it refers to intention sometimes, and it would be will. And when have refers to possessions sometimes, and it is have. So this is grammaticalization. Actually, we are looking at the aspects of grammar from the point of view of its context, of its surroundings, of its background. We are looking at the grammar from the point of view of its background. Then grammaticalization. Some other grammaticalization, the examples, as you can see, there is a word that is during. During is a verb, and it is actually, the target is it is a verb, so simply it is used as during. In front of, it's a prepositional phrase. What does PP stands for? This PP, in the definition, it stands for prepositional phrase. PP is a prepositional phrase. In front of, this is a prepositional phrase because, let me make a tree diagram here. In front of, it's a complete PP. This PP is further subdivided into two things. The first is in front. Front is the main preposition, sorry, it's a noun, and then of is preposition, in is also a preposition. In is also a preposition, and this is a in front is something that is actually the main, we can say the main thing, the head word in this phrase, and then of is again another preposition. Then agone is a pre-verb, and it is sometimes used as ago. Yes. Because that is a prepositional phrase, sometimes it combines and it makes because. Them, while sub, it all combines and it is converted into one thing, and it makes while. Then the next word is given. Given is again converted into given. Grammaticalization again is important in many other words as well. For example, somebody is noun phrase. Now somebody is noun phrase. Why? Some is what? According to the parts of speech. Some is adjective. Yeah, it is adjective. Body is noun. Yes, while we say it's somebody, so it's noun phrase, and then it is also not written separately. Most of the time when it is grammaticalized, it becomes one word and it is regarded as somebody. One, that is a numeral number. Sometimes it is out of the process of grammaticalization, it will become the one. One is a numeral, and sometimes instead of using one, we will just directly use a. I mean, a means one. Yes. Some other examples are, do you know, instead of using these three words, they are grammatically, by using the process of grammaticalization, they become je with apostrophe and then no. You know, instead of using the complete word, do you know, they would say you know only, although because it is actually a word that is referring, that is actually explaining the complete meanings of the first phrase. Then I think, instead of using I think, they can also use think in today's modern world, in today's English. Instead of using I guess, we can also just use guess. Okay, then the source and the target. For example, if there is a noun, we can add sometimes li, and we can change. We can change the word, and in the same way, sometimes we can add hood. Sometimes we can add ed. Just the examples of this thing would be, for example, in hood we can add. If there is a noun that is child, so if we add childhood, it becomes childhood. It is referring to some specific period of age. Okay, then these are some of examples are there. Yes, grammaticalization is cross-linguistically so pervasive that some linguists suggested that all grammatical expressions are eventually derived from a lexical source. Look what the linguists are saying, that grammaticalization, we are saying it's a process, it's a cross-linguistically, that grammaticalization is not something that is very, very little, that is done on a very small scale. Rather, it is cross-linguistically. Linguistically, actually the word linguistically refers to different languages. It is a cross-linguistically, where you are crossing linguistically. It is so pervasive, it is so dominant, it is so present in all the language that some linguists suggested that all grammatical expressions are eventually derived from a lexical source. Some linguists would say that all the grammatical expressions, have come from just perhaps they have come from the same lexical source, from this one lexical source. Yes, this is important actually. While we are talking about the grammaticalization, we were looking that on one hand we have some specific words, and out of these words we were making certain combinations, and we were developing them into some other words by using some other processes. So we say that sometimes we can say that this process of grammaticalization is so much present in today's English that we can say that perhaps almost all the words can be developed into some other thing. They can be developed into some other lexemes, they can be developed into some other lexicons. The grammaticalization of demonstratives. There is at least one other class for the development of grammatical markers, that is known as demonstratives. Demonstratives are those words that are used to demonstrate something. For example, to demonstrate means to explain something. The words that are used to refer to something, or the pointers. For example, the first thing is, if we are using the word if we are using this word this is what? Is referring to something. These are demonstratives. Then an, all these are demonstratives that are actually demonstrating, that are presenting, that are referring to something. They provide demonstratives provide a frequent historical source for a wide variety of grammatical expressions, articles, relatives, and third-person pronouns, sentence connectives, copulars, directional verbs, focus markers, etc. Means these demonstrative, they provide a great variety of these grammatical expressions. We can find them everywhere. Yes, the grammaticalization of demonstratives. Yes, again the same topic is continuing, and we can see that there is a sentence that is written in some other language. This is again it has shown the grammaticalization of some demonstratives. Demonstratives are what? Are the pointers, are the articles that are there in our parts of speech. There is no evidence from any language that demonstratives developed from the lexical expressions. Yes, this is an important point. Before this we were saying that it seems as if all the items, all the lexical items of the language, they have derived from the one lexical items. They are deriving from one, and they are changing their shape, they are making something else. But the study and the research has proved that there is no evidence from any language that demonstratives developed from any lexical expressions. They are perhaps they rose out of nowhere. Are demonstratives then grammatical markers? Yes, tell me, are these demonstrative grammatical markers? Are they showing some kind of grammaticality or not? Is there, can you, for example, if I am speaking a sentence like I eat an apple, I eat the apple, I eat a apple. Do you think that there is a difference in the meanings of, or the syntactical or the grammatical structure of all these three sentences? I eat an apple, I eat the apple. The, an, and a. These are the three words, these are the three articles that are, what they are doing, they are actually, yes, they are making a change in the meanings of the words. So we can say, yes, that these are really the grammatical markers. Demonstratives function to establish joint attention, which is one of the most fundamental functions of human communications. What are they doing? The function is to establish joint attention. Joint attention, which is one of the most fundamental functions of human communication. The function of our human communication is to establish a kind of joint attention with some other person. Demonstratives have a special status in the language. They are a part of the basic vocabulary of every language. Yes, the demonstratives are always there in every language. The grammaticalization of demonstratives, it is done by lexical expressions, by demonstratives, and the grammatical markers. Yes, the lexical expressions, all the lexical expressions are what? The lexical expressions are the basic words. The lexical expressions are the basic words that can be transformed into some other words, that can make some new words. As we have seen that if we add the words like hood or ed with the noun, they would change their form and they would make something else. That is lexical expressions. Fine. On one hand there is lexical expressions, and the other hand there is demonstrative. These demonstratives are the pointers, are the demonstrative words that demonstrate about something. These two things, the two major components, the lexical expressions as well as the demonstratives, they combine and they make up grammatical markers. The grammatical markers are those markers that carry the main qualities of grammar. We can say that by looking and identifying at these elements within the language, we can identify the grammatical marker. We can say, if we are reading one word, I eat the apple, it means that in this word the apple, what I am doing, I am actually I can identify, I can look that what is the demonstrative. The is the demonstrative in this word. So what is a function? Yes, is a grammatical marker. Yes, it is a grammatical marker. As we have seen, there are the two main components that make up this thing. The one is grammatical lexical expression, and the other is demonstrative. Then grammaticalization and linguistic theory. Grammaticalization is of central significance for the theory of language. Number one, It challenges rigid division between lexicon and grammar. Yes, the main function of grammaticalization is that it is actually it is a kind of challenge. It is a kind of challenge to the rigid divisions between lexicons and the grammars. In the olden time, there used to be the rigid divisions between that. On one hand, one thing was regarded as a lexicon and the other grammar. There was no intermediate link between them. So it suggests that the grammar is dynamic model. It suggests, yes, okay, that the grammar is a dynamic model, that it keeps changing. It supports the hypothesis that grammatical categories have a prototype structure, that they have a structure that already exists. So grammaticalization is impacting on the linguistic theory as well. So with this, we come to the end of today's lecture, and let me give you a quick summary of what we have done today in our lecture. Firstly, we have looked at the emergence of modern English in the different regions of the world. We have looked at the different maps of the world. We have seen that how Britain was expanded, how it was expanding from one continent to the other continent, starting from the US, UK, and from it moved on to Asia, it moved on to Africa, Europe, and the rest of the world. There was a great expansion that was going on all over the world. So after looking at those maps, we come towards the process of globalization of English, and we found out that there are the many processes, there are the many factors that have made them that have made English as the globalized language of the world. Then towards the end of our lecture, by looking at different examples, we have seen some grammaticalization of English, and then in the end we have seen that how grammaticalization is made of. It is made of actually the two basic components. The first component is what? The first component is that of you can say the lexical items, and the second is that of demonstratives. They say that these two things combine and they make up one the grammaticalization of English. So with this, today we are ending on this note, and in our next lecture we'll move towards the broader concepts of English in the modern era, and we are going to look at different world Englishes, and we are going to look at very interesting facts of English as well. So let me end it here. Please keep studying the things, keep reading the things, and because the more you read, the more intelligible you are, so the more healthier you are. Take very good care of yourself for the next lecture, and till the next lecture, see you, and Allah Hafiz.